it's easy to be like the son of a rich guy, but to do the literally death-defying things that he did as a pro wrestler, and getting in the ring with other pro wrestlers it speaks a whole nother volume to his character and him as a person.
Recently, more than a rumor, months ago, a photo surfaced of Tony Khan having a casual meeting at an airport with Shane McMahon. Recently, Mercedes Moné, the CEO, has mentioned that she's been talking to him quite a bit. She'd love to have him in AEW. Shane McMahon in AEW, what would that bring to that company?
I don't know. Chaos. I feel like the whole internet wrestling community would go up in fire that day. But that's what I kind of live for. I live for the unexpected and the unpredictable. So, I don't know whether it be good or bad. It would definitely get people talking. And, Shane has always been someone that's kind of gone by the beat of his own drum. He never had to be the wrestler he was. He never had to be a wrestler at all, and he did. And you could tell that he definitely has a passion for pro wrestling, because it's easy to be like the son of a rich guy, but to do the literally death-defying things that he did as a pro wrestler, and getting in the ring with other pro wrestlers it speaks a whole nother volume to his character and him as a person.
So in the event, he wound up in AEW, and he decided that he wanted to wrestle a match, and you turned out to be the opponent. What would happen?
I mean, Shane O'Mac's getting broken in half. You know what I mean?
All right, let's go on to let's talk about Don Callis. Don Callis is one of the most controversial managers in history. Recently, he just bought Lance Archer from Jake the Snake Roberts to make his whole group even more dangerous. Tell us about Don Callis and his brood.
He's conniving. He's a snake. He'll do anything it takes to win. You can't fault him for that, I guess. He has a group of very dangerous guys. Some I feel like are there against their will. No pun intended. Will Ospreay, I don't think wants to be under his tutelage, but currently is under some kind of contract. So, Don has some way of prying on people that need an opportunity and then using that to his advantage.
He's created quite a wedge between himself, Will Ospreay, and Kyle Fletcher recently.
Yeah, and, it's easy for Kyle as a young person in this business to get influenced by the wrong people. But I think that his loyalty at the end of the day probably lies with Will.
You think you know all the wrestling stories? There's more you haven't heard yet. Join us on Backstage Pass.
One of the people who's been around AEW since the beginning, and he keeps coming back fresher and fresher. Hi, guys. Chris Jericho. Absolutely just amazing. Currently, in the current form that Chris Jericho is in with Big Bill and the Learning Tree, what do you think about this particular incarnation of Chris Jericho?
It's very deceiving. I feel like he has this, he wants to give back to the young guys and he wants to mentor people. But as the JAS showed, I don't know if that is always the most trustworthy person to take under his lead. It seems like everyone that joins some iteration of a Jericho group ends up getting left in the dust, whether it be the Inner Circle or the JAS. So, I think Big Bill is a phenomenal talent. I think he is someone that can really break out and really, stand on his own. So I hope that Bill sees that and keeps himself protected. And, Brian Keith is no slouch either. Like, I hope that he doesn't see this as just like an opportunity to get on TV. I hope that he sees this as for what it is and also keeps himself protected.
On your musical end there, have you had a chance to ever see Fozzy in person?
No. It's not really my cup of tea, but I do respect Chris for what he does. There's obviously a fan base for it, and I've seen the videos and stuff on the Jericho cruise, but I've never seen it live in person.
I mentioned Jake the Snake Roberts before regarding that trade that he made with Don Callis. Tell us about your interaction with Jake Roberts.
Jake is a very intense person. He's very to himself, kind of lurks in the shadows a bit, even though he's a gigantic human being. He's quiet. You have to be paying attention to the words that he's saying. He's very much the Jake Roberts that you grew up with, just older now. So he's probably more meaner and bitter as well.
What about your interactions with him backstage?
I haven't had much. I mean, it's always been a head nod or a couple good job boys on the House of Black stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like, he could probably relate to the stuff that we do and the intensity that we bring. Very much in the vein of a Jake the Snake in his prime. But yeah, he's a very interesting human.
Okay, I have two more people to mention to you before we wrap up here. Let's talk about the Young Bucks. They kind of run the company pretty much, and they're doing a lot of stuff that favors them. Tell us about the way they run their part of the company. Are you comfortable with the way that they have a piece of the company and yet they do things to favor themselves and Mercedes Moné, etc.?
I guess the short answer would be no. I don't. I've always been against the grain. I've always been, if you tell me one thing, I'm going to do the other. And the fact that they get things without earning them, they give things to others that aren't deserving. It's very interesting the way that they go about things, because I feel like it almost goes against the ethos that they had when they started AEW, and it goes against how they came up in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see, this current iteration of the Elite and what their objective is at the end of the day, where they see the company. But then at the end, I also don't see the way that Jon Moxley sees the company. I don't see it in the way that Darby Allin sees the company. It's I have my own lens, and while it does side with some people more, I'm never going to see exactly the picture that the other person sees.